So in summary, Justin, what have we learned today? What have we gone over?
So we've gone over, obviously, relationships surrounding site acquisition, who you should be talking to, who you should be getting information out of. We've gone into regulations around sites and if you need assistance through those regulations, who you should talk to, such as town planners. And then we've gone through the design part of it, what the designers should know when you're designing the site and how much information and knowledge they should obviously have around development and building. And we've touched a bit on engineering, mate. So, yeah, a few little different topics in that one big topic.
What are you talking about today, mate?
Site acquisition, apparently.
What's site acquisition, mate?
Acquiring sites.
I love it. All right, we'll see you in the next episode.
That's it. We cut.
Okay, so we're buying sites. So what's the difference between site acquisition and our last episode on location?
Well, obviously location is where the site is situated somewhere. Mm-hmm. And then we obviously spoke about factors in the location, and we also spoke a little bit about factors in the site. I'm pretty sure it was.
Yep.
And what are bad things and what are good things.
Yep.
Site acquisition, I guess, is just buying the site and the processes you have to go through to buy the site. Who would be meeting when you buy the site, or who would be giving you the information?
Because the last one went for 45 minutes and we just having to go for 5 minutes. Let's just touch on one of those things on site acquisition. The thing that comes to mind that is most important in site acquisition, I feel like the first thing you said was key people that you need in your corner when you're acquiring a site. Did you want to focus on that today?
Yeah, well, that probably only go for 5 minutes, that part.
It'll go for 55, mate, the way you talk. So why is this so important? Why is having those key people involved at the start of a development so important? Like, why is it so important?
Well, they're the people that so someone's got a site, whether it's, well, generally it's better to be off market. I definitely prefer them off market. I feel you can get a better deal. I like to do things under the radar anyway. But I feel you can get a better deal. And I think the agent can work with that particular person a bit better when it's a bit off market. So I prefer off market. So generally, if they are off market, that person who's got the site is going to contact a buyer's agent or an agent. So they're going to get first information on the site. And if you've got a good enough relationship with that buyer's agent or sales agent, they're going to contact you. And when they do, then you get to see the site, discuss all the information about it, and then straight away the first thing that you should be doing is saying, get me all the information. So is there any DAs, is there a survey, is there a consent, is there any information about the site that you can get as quick as possible that'll help you do numbers on it, or like I've said in previous things, it's up here. It's great to get ones with DAs. So, get as much information as you can on it so you can start working on it.
So firstly, off market obviously means before a property gets listed through realestate.com or through a real estate agent, generally there's properties that would get developers, etc., like yourself would get access to. So that obviously is what off market means. So having that sales agent or buyer's agent in your corner is really, really important. And then the other thing is, like you mentioned, DA documents, etc., etc. Who would you be getting those from? Like, what would that specialist be that you'd be retrieving those docs from?
Oh, it depends. Usually it'll come from the actual person who owns the site at the time, or a consultant that they've been using while they were working on the site, if they've got anything on there. But it'll come from one of them too, but obviously the authority would have to come from the owner of the site. So generally we quickly try and get authority I get the agent asked if we can get an email authority saying that we can access their documents or anything that they have, which the architect or another consultant might have, and then we quickly chase them up and then get them emailed over and start looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, obviously the relationship with the agent needs to be good, and when they are off market, they're not going to be off market for long. People are impatient, you know, as if someone wants to really get rid of their site, they'll say quickly, have you got anyone? And then obviously, you know, that agent or buyer's agent you've got the relationship with will come to you first, and they might have another person or another one that they'll show as well after. You know, you might get first dibs if you're that lucky one, but then give it up to a week, and then there's not much information coming back for that off market site. The person who owns it at the time is going to say, let's list the thing. So you don't get much time on off market. So you generally got to act quick with it, because, you know, depending on the market that it's selling in, if it does go to market and get listed, then you're in competition.
Just a quick question on off market. What's the motivation of someone selling that block or selling that house? What's their motivation to have it off market or get a deal done off market? Is it a time thing for them as well, as much as you?
Yeah, there'll be many things. There'll be a time thing.
Yeah.
Some people don't like the muck around. It depends on the person. They might have a couple of sites or whatever it is, but a lot of them can't be bothered with the muck around. Like if a normal person's going to list a home, you know, and it's sitting there, you know, even if it's not sitting there for a bit, there's open homes, you know, there's inspections, there's back and forth. So a lot of people don't want to go through that, especially if they don't need to. So a little quick under the table deal off market would suit most people. So, mate, there was a period, obviously, during the boom where off market was how agents were selling. I think they can negotiate better with the person who's got the property at the time. The negotiation, I think, is a lot better for the agent. Less hassle, no marketing fees. There's a fair few reasons why, but I think mainly it's the hustle of it. If you can get the deal done, it's done and move on. But I think there's definitely a lot more negotiating power from both sides. But yeah, I think most people do prefer an off-market sale. Like I said, off-market sales a year ago for a year or so were most of the sales, if you ask the agents up here. So yeah, that's the reasons why, I reckon.
And I think off-market sales is so important in this development game because it's something we've spoken a lot about, which is time is money. And if you're having to compete with other potential buyers, if the seller's having to go through, like you said, open homes, et cetera, it's like potentially adding another 2-3 months to a development process, and that time is money. So if we can get that done quicker, it's so much more important. And then there's no emotions getting caught up in it. It's just a very logical negotiation. So
yeah, it's usually a lot smoother. And then you're going into competition against other people, not just developers. Once it gets listed, you're out battling against the world then. So
yeah,
generally that price is going to be higher.
Yeah.
Well, it depends. If they're usually in an off-market deal, you have to give them what they want as well. So not all the time will the price always be high. You just be in a lot more competition, a lot more time consuming, a lot more effort. But generally when you do buy off market, you obviously are taking it off market. So you do have to offer pretty much what they want. But if the deal's that good, you generally can offer a bit more above. You can use some bargaining power. Maybe say you want a 3 or 6 month settlement, we'll give you an extra $100,000 or whatever more for it. I think the bargaining and the negotiating power is a lot better. It's 1-on-1 between you and the person who owns the property through the agent, and not screwing different things going around at once. So yeah, definitely better for site acquisition.
Difference between a sales agent and a buyer's agent, just for guys watching this, just so we're clear, because in this off-market process, having a buyer's agent or a sales agent in your corner, or having a developed relationship to make sure you can do these off-market deals, what's the difference between the two, just so people can understand?
Well, obviously buyer's agents, have grown a lot to what they were 10 years ago. Obviously nowhere near as much as a sales agent, but they're definitely growing, and there's a a lot more of them in that space. So the buyer's agent, as it says, will work for the person who's looking for a property. So, you know, as I said in podcast before, where like it's how much time it takes to find a site, how many sites you got to go through. Some people, you know, there's a lot of people I met that are doctors, and they, you know, they're flat out working, but they do acquire a lot of sites, and they usually get them deep. There's a lot of blokes that I know that are doctors are in that industry that do buy a ton of sites, and then they DAM sell them to developers. So their time's already chewed up. So they'll have a buyer's agent going around for them, looking for sites. Same thing, that buyer's agent will usually get good dibs on it. People will ring them. You know, they're all working together as well. And then the sales agent will call them and say, look, we've got this site. Do you have a buyer? Usually all works in the same loop, but they'll work for the seller. They'll work for the person looking for the site. So, it just saves that person going around to all these different sites that they can't get there if they've got busy lives and stuff like that. They do it for them, then they send them all the info. And that's sort of what the buyer's agent's done. And obviously everyone knows what your normal sales agents do. They work for the seller. Both will work on a commission base, generally somewhere between 2 and 3%, depending on who it is. And they'll work for the seller. So get all the marketing done, get on realestate.com, go through their database, and probably talk to that buyer's agent. Just work on both opposite sides for each person, the buyer and the seller. Yeah, and
your situation's been unique because over your time, your development time, you've obviously developed good relationships with sales agents and buyers agents, but those sales agents that you've developed relationships with, they've been almost like to some degree, an off-market mediator between parties to get deals done, which has enabled you to develop faster.
Yep. Yeah. So obviously, you know, Matt, Trev, Jordan, the guys I use, they're pretty much, you know, they're everything all in one pretty much. So most of the time, 90% of the time, I do feel that they're going to be the one who gets spoken to first if someone's got a site. So I generally, I had a buyer's agent that I was using before a lot, and now that person is with that team. So it's all linked now anyway. She was great, but obviously, it's mainly through the sales agents at McGrath. So generally, you know, they will get first dibs on things, and then I'm able to get first dibs after that.
Wow.
I mainly use them, and the relationship with them has been for a long time. So you keep that relationship intact.
Am I right in saying that, in the beginning of your development journey, you'd more or less look for a buyer's agent to act in your best interest in order to acquire sites, but then potentially over time, as you start to be more of a property developer as a label, you'll start to potentially have sales agents that want to look after you as well and cut deals between you and their clients that they're acting for, because they understand the value that you're going to bring to the table in the property market moving forward. Is that a pretty fair assumption?
Yeah, look, it's hard because when, you know, I started, there wasn't really any buyer's agents. I'd never even heard of one back then, you know. That's what I mean. They've definitely ramped it up a lot more now. I was just using sales agents. Look, different now. But yeah, definitely, obviously, if you're buying, you go through a buyer. But I've mainly used normal real estate agents. Even before these guys, you know, when I was younger, in a different area on the Central Coast, I had a couple other ones that I used to use, and obviously I was buying in different areas. So around your minor, and when you start out in Empire Bay and Bensville and those sort of places. So I had different agents then, and then, you know, once we've moved to where we are, and then you realise the grand scale of where these guys are on, you're going to get a lot more variety to choose from, and obviously it's in the location that we do, and it's all about their database. I think their database and the way that they negotiate is, you know, the biggest factor in the whole lot of it. The negotiating skills in their database, if they don't have that, and it's just getting flicked on realestate.com, well, they're not doing much for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they need to have some good, good attributes like that, and they're the two big key factors I think that agents definitely need to have.
Yeah. Who else do you need in site acquisition in addition to real estate agents or buyers agents to really help you get the site acquisition piece sorted, which is the
town planners, very important, especially developers.
Interesting. Talk to me more about that.
Yeah.
What's a town planner?
I won't elaborate on that anymore. Town planners.
That's what happens when you do.
Knows all the inside out of the regulations and the LEP and council regulations in that area.
What's LEP? Sorry.
So it's like a guideline of what you've sort of got to build by.
Yeah.
It only just got updated at the end of last year. So they will know the ins and outs of that more than what you will. They will let you know what you sort of can and can't do. And if you're looking to push a development that's more than what I guess is allowed on that site, they will put a plan together for you to be able to maybe have that passed. And I think the name says it all. They plan the town for you.
It sounds like the FBI, the LEP.
So yeah,
I just got done by the LEP for not doing what we're meant to with the site. I like it.
So they'll do that, and then obviously if you get the site, then not even if you have got the site, you definitely want to get your designer or architect or someone in then just to have a look around and come up with a couple of little concepts of what you think you could put on that site.
Can I stay with the LEP for a minute? Are these guys expensive, the town planners? Like, do you have to pay money? Do you have to wait time? Are they easy to access?
No, there's not a lot of them, especially up here. And you want a town planner that's in, council, but your corner, not so much council's corner.
Yep.
But obviously still, knows how to do the right thing and get things passed by. But yeah, they're not cheap. Town planners is probably one of the most expensive ones that you will pay for at the time. So, and then not only that, it depends on your site. Like, then you might have to have, a bit of environmental, like what we have to do over at this one. You're going to have bushfire reports, but then they'll roll into, which is for all of them, but then they'll roll into arborist reports, environmental reports, stuff like that, especially if you need creeks and all that sort of stuff. So there's some big hoops that you got to jump through. You don't want to be ripping out trees and then getting pinched and having your site held up. So yeah, a few consultants you got to jump through if you're in them areas to make sure that you can make the site work and feasibly work, and I guess cut down the time.
Does all the environmental stuff fall under the LEP as well?
The LEP is just a full guideline. It's like the Bible of what you need to sort of abide by, your regulations and, height limits and envelopes and setbacks and all these different things that revolve around building that, and, each area's got its own different LEP, obviously. So it's just a guideline that you got to follow, and generally when you stay within that guideline, then your DA should be passed. There's a little bit of leeway up to 10% sort of outside of it that you can get through, but generally you got to stay within that. And then unless you do a compliant development, which is sort of even stricter, where you don't have to go to council, you got to stay in the compliant development guidelines, which are bigger setbacks, smaller balconies, all that sort of stuff.
Okay, so let's stay for a second. So first thing is with a buyer's agent, sales agent we spoke about, I feel like that's a bit of an easier key contact person to have in your corner. Like you can get access to that pretty easy. Over to the LEP, council, etc., and the Bible, what is an easy way to, I suppose, attack that? Like, is there an easy way to do it? Like, if you've got no experience, right?
Learn it.
Yeah.
Read it.
Right. Yeah. So let's say I'm a first time property developer. I've got a good,
especially the basics of it.
Yeah, that's fine. I've got a good buyer's agent. He's finding me a good site acquisition, finding me a good site. Is he gonna help me with this LEP council stuff, or am I best just going to council and learning the process?
You're better to learn the process yourself, and your town planner is going to know it agents aren't going to know it. They'll know a couple little small things, but not. It's not really much.
So I hit up the town planner. That's my best course of action.
A lot of the sites I've done, I don't use a town planner unless it's needed.
Yeah,
it's just an expense that it depends on the development you're doing. It's expense that doesn't need to be paid for if you don't need it.
Yeah,
and it's not going to be a cheap expense.
Yeah, but you're at this level as well. So if it's a guy that's
the first one I did, it does suit the site. Like, I mean, you should know. At the end of the day, you should know most of the LEP. All right. So, and if you do know most of the LEP, it's like when you go, with all your regulations when you're building, same as the construction regulations. Every industry has their own regulations, and you generally need to know them. You don't need to know all of it, but you need to know the big key points. That where you can walk up and go, that house is going to be too close. That setback on that fence, probably not going to be able to get it. We told you when you got your one, can't get a garage in front, 6 meters frontage. You know what I mean? So things like that.
Yeah.
So important key factors in the guidelines you should know, and then when it gets a bit difficult, or you maybe need to bend that rule a little bit.
Yeah.
That's when the town planner should be able to help you with that.
Yeah, and a buyer's agent should know these regulations as well. Like if they're helping people,
they should. And I don't think
they do. Well, they probably don't know the Bible comprehensively, but they should still know elements of the Bible.
No, I can't.
They're helping with site acquisition.
They'll know a few of them.
Yeah.
But depending on the agent as well.
So long story short, still know your stuff anyway. Even if you're a rookie, still be interested in the basic regulations of council, right, and the Bible. But if you're really insecure about that and your buyer's agent doesn't know much about it, go down the town planner route.
Yes.
Even just for the first time, invest in it to understand the process, for it to be put into layman's terms, and then potentially snap it off because it's too costly moving forward.
Yep.
That's a fair call.
Yeah.
Okay, you dropped a point. I'm moving on a little bit further. You dropped a point about CDC. CDC versus going through a very comprehensive Bible DA process.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on the two? Because we've obviously been through that, but so other developers that are doing it for the first time or the sixth time, they can understand the difference, especially if they're not builders.
Yep. CDC is a compliant development certificate, which is one of my favourite things.
Because of time, right?
Time, yeah. So I've done a lot of CDCs. You'll be surprised you could actually build dual lock on CDCs if it's permissible and you can make it work on the site. Obviously a DA process, which most people know, the development application through council, is a longer process. It goes through council, and it goes, not only does it go through council, it gets notified to all the surrounding neighbours in the street. You only need one little submission from one of them that can make that DA hold up or be held up, which isn't fun. I've been in land environment court. And it could just a huge process, especially here on the Sunshine Coast. Everyone knows that it takes time up here. Whereas a complying development is you don't need council. You only need a private certifier, and you just need to have your consultants and reports done, such as a survey, a bushfire report. You might need a flood certificate, and you'll need your design, and you will need your structurals done. Whereas when you do a DA, you don't need your structural or engineering done. But you will need your engineering done when you do your construction certificate so you can build. Whereas a CDC, you need all of it done. But once you have all that done and you're in the guidelines, your CDC guidelines will be a lot stricter. Your side setbacks are a lot more. Your building envelope at the second story has a taper in a lot more. You can't have balconies bigger than 12 square meters above 2 meters. There's all these things. So they're good to use, I guess, and you're automatically knocked out of a CDC if you're in a flood zone, any bit of flood. And there's a lot of pink dots around the whole Central Coast that have been put on everyone's site. So it's knocked off a lot of them. If you've got good views, it's hard to use a CDC because you're not going to get a big balcony. But there's other ways around it where you can make things speed up.
Talk to me about that, Justin. There's other ways around it. They're the secrets of this podcast.
So a lot of the sites that I've done to get started, I will do a CDC on what I can. So I'll do a compliant development on, one in particular was out at Wombi and Hilltop, and I did a compliant development on the whole build except for the pool and the cabana out the back, because the pool edge wall was 1.9 meters off the ground. So it was an infinity pool with a balanced tank. So it was raised really high. It can't be above 1.4. So I know I wasn't going to compromise with that because I knew it was a big feature of the home. I wanted everything to be level, like off the home. So did the DA for 80% of it, and then did the CDC for 8% of it. Got cracking then and did the DA because I was able to get access to the pool after the house was built anyway, because we had a wide, down the side of the house was wide enough. And then I did the DA on the pool and the all the back areas and cabanas and all like that. And so by the time that came in, we were ready to hit it off.
Like we're doing it with mine at Wombi right now.
Yeah.
Except we're not.
We will.
Except we've got to wait now.
Yeah. So there's ways around. Look, you're going to pay double cost, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. You're going to pay, to submit a CDC, you'll pay for it, and to submit a DA, you'll pay for, and generally the architect will have to void that area or whatever and have to revise his drawings a little bit, so you'll pay a bit of a fee on that. But all in all, it's generally a lot better than the time that can be lost on there, if that helps.
Yeah, and that certifier that would assist you with the CDC, they've obviously got a very good understanding of the LEP Bible that you mentioned before.
They're the ones that know it inside out, those guys.
Which means you don't kind of need the town planner. Is that a fair call?
Oh, it depends how good your relationship is with the certifier.
That's what this session's about.
Certifier will help you out a bit if he's good enough and you keep feeding him work generally. Usually the relationship will form. And you can ring up and ask them certain questions and stuff like that. Sometimes they don't know. Sometimes you might stump them, but generally they should know most of it inside out.
So quick summary on that. You've got a DA council process, or you've got a CDC, which is a private certifier. This one, you pretty much can almost operate if you've got the right relationship as a town planner, meaning you can get the development done ASAP rather than having to wait for the council process. It can take 9 months, maybe more on the coast right now. So this seems like a great...
Somewhere over 12 will work.
Yeah, especially with pools and all the rest of it. So that's gold information there, like gold. I want to move over a little bit to this now, architect, which is where you were going, which is a key person on this site acquisition area or topic, I should say. Talk to me about that.
Well, your design area architect, our one, we use all the time, Dave and Joel at FBC. We work unreal together. I think it's a really, really good relationship. We can read each other most times of the day, ask each other anything. If your architect or designer is pretty switched on, they should know a lot of the LEP and the guidelines, 100%, and these guys do. So I won't even have to ask them now. Generally, I'll say, I'm looking at this site, and before you know it, an hour later, Dave will send me an email with a few things without me having to ask. So they're brilliant on that end, and then he'll give his concerns, which is good. He'll throw his 2 cents in where he thinks that there could be some negative stuff towards the site, not so much towards development, but yes, towards development, but in the site itself. And they're drawing these things up every day for people, so I get great input from them lads. And then obviously once you get past that part, then you can sort of look at some concepts and designs that you can get done. That'll suit the site, and if it works, then you quickly show it your age, and if it all sort of comes together, then you can start getting cracking, and then you buy the site. So yeah, very important, those guys. Very, very important.
What do they do?
What's
an architect do?
Draws pictures.
Nice ones?
Yeah, if they're good at it.
Yeah. Because you got some nice developments, and they all came from nice pictures, and usually those pictures turned out to be exactly what those developments were.
They do.
So how important is it using an architect to actually create this concept before it's actually a real thing?
Oh, it's
versus just going in there like I do many times. Just trying to create something on the
when
fly.
it's starting out, because they're not cheap. When you're starting out, obviously, you know, you can go in and do a quick reno and get some money to flip it, because they're usually just cosmetic. So you might just be changing the kitchen, bathroom, painting. You can do all that stuff yourself. I used to draw up my own mud maps when I was younger, and I was doing my sort of own developments before I used architects. I was, you know, but I love design, so I was just sketch paper and drawing up all my own ones. I generally get the real estate's previous. What I used to get the real estate's previous sale floor plan, trace it out on some tracer paper, and then I would get stuck in the design myself and draw up my own designs and then work off them. We did that a lot. And then your painting, I put my own kitchens in, did everything at the start. I just didn't tile, and just didn't really tile, to be honest. I even did some of my own electrical. Don't tell Barney that. But
I owe some of mine as well.
Yeah. But yeah, you do what you do, because at the end of the day, your time isn't a cost. It's just your time. So yeah, look at the start. I don't think you need to go. It depends what you're doing. But when you come in and you want to get good designs, you got to put out a good product. You have to have a great design that you're going to create. I still, with Dave, will sit down and I still will draw up mud maps, and I'll give him briefs, and I'll send over tons of photos and all that before he starts. So it's pretty imprinted in his head what direction I want to go with. And, you know, most 100% of the time, pretty much he'll nail it first concept that he sends me. Might be a couple of minor tweaks, and that's pretty much it with him. It's pretty seamless. Boom, 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 boom. I don't think you will probably see two people get to CC drawings much quicker than what I think me, Dave, and Joel get them to. They're pretty quick once we start.
How long usually do you get it to that concept?
Oh, we're usually 2 to 3 months, which is pretty quick.
Yep.
That's from start site measure up. 2 months. We've done them in 2 months, which is, you know, super quick. I've been with architects and designed other people's houses after a year, and you're still not even there, you know. So generally around the 2 to 3 months mark, we'll have everything ready to go.
Yep. Any other people? So we've gone through,
and by that time, don't forget too, in 6 weeks or so, we've already lodged the DA. So they've done all the DA documents. You've got a DA set of drawings that are in DA. So while that's in DA, you work on your structurals, your engineering, and you're implementing your construction certificate drawings, so your CC drawings. At that time, white's ticking off in DA. So it's pretty smooth process with them fellas.
Because once again, it's come back to this: time is money.
Yep.
If you're not managing these people or working with these people and the process, you're costing yourself lots of money.
100%.
With the architect, you mentioned before, so we're just going back a little bit to the CDC part, where you've done some sneaky stuff in the past, but it's been very effective in terms of time management. Has the architect also worked with you on any examples where you've gone through CDC and there hasn't been a DA process, or has
the architect still has to work with you? It's still the same process on them.
Have you had experience with that? Like going through a CDC with the architect where you haven't gone through DA?
Yeah, we'll still do the CDC the same. Still have to do the drawings, still have to get all them done. But you got to submit construction drawings and engineering with a CDC. So you got to have, so obviously with the DA process, it's development application, and then if you're very confident on that getting approved, which if your design's right, I'll just start on the structural drawings or the engineering right there and then, because it's another few months that you're ticking off where you can't do anything anyway while the DA's in. So then you come to and then when that gets approved, you apply for your construction certificate, which is when you need your engineering, and that means you can commence your build. So pretty much for a CDC, you need everything that you need for a construction certificate, but it's at the start. So you have to work with your architect. So the private certified definitely wants to see some decent drawings. He doesn't want to see just scribble on paper.
And you mentioned something before, and you mentioned it again just then, you want to really get all that engineering done as well, prematurely before construction to get the certificate, whereas that's not the case with the DA.
No, DAs, you just got to lodge everything except for your engineering.
Cool.
So they just want to see the footprint of the building, the style of the building, does it suit the street? And then obviously, all your floor space ratios and all that sort of stuff. That's what they want to see.
Yeah.
Engineering DA don't really care about, but it'll say in the DA consent, prior to any, you'll have prior to any works, prior to any construction certificate, prior to any occupational certificate, blah blah, and it'll tell you all the clauses and the things that they want to be ticked off before you can apply for it. And you go through and you quickly tick that list off, and away you go.
How important is it to get the engineer sorted as well? Like, obviously we've gone through like the architect, we've gone through the buyer's agent, we've gone through potentially the DA process versus the compliant development certificate. What about an engineer in this process? How important is that?
His site acquisition, not very. They don't really come into the play yet. You're too busy working on it. You can't do any engineering until your design's fully complete. So, concepts isn't even good enough. So because concepts, you don't have elevations. You might have concepts, you generally just have 2 floor plans, well, 1 floor plan, but on every floor. And you will have probably, if they're good architects, you'll get a 3D sort of visualization shot. So that's pretty much what concepts are. You won't have all your elevations and zoomed in details and reflective ceiling plans, all that stuff. You won't have any of that. It'll just be a couple of pages to give you an idea. So you need to get to that stage just before construction drawings, before the engineer can even kick it off. So he's a while off. You should already have your site and be raring to go by then.
And really that architect should have a pretty similar to the LEP rules, should have a pretty good understanding of concepts like elevation and basic engineering understanding to enable that design or that concept to get to a point where it's almost about to be signed off and the engineer can start to do.
Yeah, they definitely have to be switched on with engineering and everything. So, like I said, a good architect will know a lot about every aspect of building. They really, really would. Not just how to design it and draw it up. And know a ton about the regulations. That's what a good architect should know.
Good sesh, mate.
Not bad, huh?
So in summary, Justin, what have we learned today? What have we gone over?
So we've gone over, obviously, relationships surrounding site acquisition, who you should be talking to, who you should be getting information out of. We've gone into regulations around sites and what those factors, I guess, make your decision in buying the site. And if you need assistance through those regulations, who you should talk to, such as town planners. And then we've gone through the design part of it, what the designers should know when you're designing the site and how much information and knowledge they should obviously have around development and building. And we've touched a bit on engineering, mate. So, a few little different topics in that one big topic.
Wow. So you've done some really nice name dropping in the last couple of sessions about this architect that you use.
Yeah,
right?
Davey boy, yeah.
Big Davey boy. Well, I don't know you, Davey boy, but Justin's doing some really nice stuff by dropping your name. So we need Davey on here.
We need to get Dave and Joel on here.
Dave and Joel, we're calling you out right now. Hopefully you've got this.
I'll give you a buzz after this one, boys.
Justin will be giving you a buzz after this. We're going to get you on so we can really isolate the concept of architecture and obviously design and how important this is in this process.
I hope they come on now since he's done that.
Oh, let's be
look pretty silly.
Well, at the end of the day, right? You refer a lot of work. You speak very highly. We've got some projects we're doing in the future. So if you don't do it, look, there's a lot more to lose. They'll be here. Yep. So how the universe will conspire. Talk to me about some of the things we're going to be talking about in that session.
In the design session?
Yeah, we're really going to isolate the design, the architect.
If we get the architects on, it'll be mainly focused around them and what they get out of doing the design. I want to know, the excitement that they get out of doing the design, because I'm so into design. Like, I love it. It's one of the funnest parts. I love that process, and I love to be really involved in it. You get to see I get the birth of a creation like that you're going to build. So, and then by the end of it, you know what you're going to build. So I want to know what excites them, and I want to know what when they look at a site, how they visualize it, how they do it. Do they map it out in their head like I sort of do and stuff like that? And I want to know how programs that they use. I know the ones that they use, but we'll let you guys know the ones that they use. I think the ones that are better out there, and just how their start of their sequences from their program, what they map out first, is it the external walls, and then how they go. But just the process of what they do, I think would be interesting for everyone to listen to.
You know what I want to know? Right. I want to know the creation process that you gave birth to between you and the architect, and how exciting this whole process is.
Yep.
So other developers can go through it as well.
Yeah, no, it's a good part. It's definitely one of my favorite parts. All of it is, but that's fun.
Yeah. See you soon, Dave and Joel.